like homosexuality, all of this cuckoldry.
I would say
Yes.
the evidence is
already-
abundant.
it already
but the
is.
West
The evidence is
specifically,
abundant that it is
look at
currently
Hollywood.
degenerating the
It is
West.
already degenerating at a massive
Yes.
rate.
Yeah,
Yes.
gender bending, sodomy, homosexuality. These things have never happened in Europe. That's so true.
They
There
have.
were symptoms of like the declining societies. I mean, we're not the first.
I mean, yeah, they have, and that's a big thing that took down Rome, and they will often bring this up. Well, this stuff has always existed. Yeah, it's always existed. And a common theme is it's been something that brings down society, right? And I'll tell you why it brings down society. It's not just totally random that the concept of sort of sexual liberation, correlates so often with the downfall of certain civilizations. Rome as an example, the modern United States as an example. And it's because I think there is something inherent in the concept of sexual degeneracy, sexual liberation, the type of stuff being debated here, that what is it fundamentally? What it is fundamentally is giving in to your most carnal impulses, right? And then really making everything about those impulses and ultimately making everything about yourself, right? My immediate instant gratification is what is most important. And so, the long-term duty, obligation that is involved in, monogamy, having a family, getting married, all of that stuff, that sort of stuff is totally ignored for the concept of, in Rome, we're just going to have these gigantic orgies everywhere. Everyone's going to be polyamorous all the time. No one's going to really start families. If they do, they're going to all be broken apart. And then the same thing in the United States, right? And the reason I think that spills over, or you could argue one is a symptom of the other, whatever, is because that's not just a society sexually that's being incredibly selfish. That means it's a society that's also being selfish in other different areas. And so you could correlate, I don't know what you want to say the causation is, chicken or the egg, which came first, but that's why you can very often correlate a sexually degenerate society to one that is degenerating in other ways, because it reflects the mindset of the people, right? If the people are thinking to themselves, let me choose instant gratification and hooking up and orgies and all the stuff they did in Rome and Sodom and Gomorrah everywhere, right? Instead of saying, let me have healthy relationships, let me get married, let me do all that stuff, you will see that manifest in other areas. You will see the fact that if nobody has impulse control, right? If everyone is just chasing constant immediate gratification, then that's not just going to be a sexual thing. That's going to be in other areas, right? So that means people are conning each other because they just want money. They don't care about anything else. People are thinking in the short term. They're not thinking the long term, right? They're not the old men planting the trees. That whole proverb. It's not a proverb, but you know what I mean. You know that old ancient saying, right? So that's why I would say this concept of, we'll call it sexual liberation, because I think we understand more so what that means, and that might be a better term for it. It is degenerate, but just to explain to you kind of what concept we're talking about here. That's why it's very often correlated with the downfall of societies, okay? And that's why it's not just about people being gay or people being polyamorous or whatever. That's why it reflects, again, a symptom of a greater cancer that takes down a civilization, okay? That's why. It's not, so people, you'll see them bring this up. Why sex this, sex that? It's not a big deal. That's why it's a big deal. That's why there's a correlation there. Just saying.
First people to think that you can have sex with a guy or change your gender. I mean, there have been sexual revolutions in different capacities throughout history, and no society has ever survived those types of revolutions, typically like a sign of the decline happening.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Do you think our society is on the brink of collapse?
I don't know if I would say the brink. I think that's alarmist, but we're definitely headed in the wrong direction.
Every marker of a healthy nation, America's heading in the opposite direction.
Just because of what people are doing in the
I don't think that
It's not
That's such a first world, the typical naivety of a college girl, right? What's wrong with society? I think everything is good. Hey, maybe there was a time in this country. You could even argue like the 1960s, which there was a lot of liberalism going on in the 1960s. But you could even argue, you looked at Boomer Grandpa, I guess it wouldn't have been Boomer Grandpa, what generation then? Silent Generation Grandpa. And he's saying, man, this country's really gone to heck in a handbasket. You could maybe look then and say, okay, come on, Grandpa. I know things are a little more liberal now, but we're still the superpower of the world. Everything's still good. There's still an American dream. Under what facade are you going to look at the country now and kind of pretend, no, I don't know what you're talking about. We're not on the brink of collapse. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. By the way, let's get the stream to 100 likes. Yes, we are.
Just
I know.
because of that.
By every
Yeah.
metric. Economic, social, political, geopolitical, every metric, we're not doing well. We're about to default on the debt, probably. Is that what healthy countries do? Do they default on their national debt? I didn't think so.
Do you
I think
think-
it's too sophisticated.
Yeah, I was
disagree.
about to
Part
ask,
of
do you
it.
think these things are what were the cause of collapse, or do you think that there are other factors like economic factors or factors relating to, like, let's say, illness, disease, widespread that might be?
Again, I just explained, so I'm not going to do it again, but I just explained why those are connected, right? Yes, it is true. Sex is not the only thing taking down society, or attitude towards sex, I should say. That's not the single thing taking down society, but it's reflective, again, of the way people are thinking and approaching issues, right? And so if they're choosing instant gratification over the long-term prospering of everyone around them and honestly themselves, then that's going to bleed into other areas. And honestly, you look at the United States today, you can see that in everything, right? What's one of kind of America's big sins, you could argue, today, besides the just sexual, all that stuff? I would argue it's love of money, it's lust for money, right? And I don't mean that in the sense that the socialists mean it. Oh, if someone is rich, that's bad. I mean it in the sense that, the food in this, for instance, just as one example, the FDA, the food in this country is completely poison, okay? Most of the common chemicals we use on our food in this country are banned in the European Union because they're labeled carcinogenic, can't cause cancer, right? But in the United States, because the lobbies for these different things have bought out the FDA, we're literally poisoning our entire country via the food supply, right? You wonder why cancer and obesity, all that stuff, just because so-and-so lobby is and then is paying for it. And nobody steps in to stop it, right? That's a symptom of what? A selfish society only, wanting short-term gratification. That's our attitude toward everything in this country. Short-term gratification over the long-term benefit of anything, and that reflects in our attitude towards sex, but it also reflects in our attitude towards something like money, chasing profit versus chasing the net good of human beings. And again, I don't mean that in a socialist sense. I just mean that in some of the ways I see consumerism destroy our country, right?
The causes of the society's falling.
National debt. One last thing. National debt, same thing, right? Spend so we can win the next election, Change the interest rate so we can win the next election. Bail out the banks so we can win the next election. Don't actually do what's long-term good for the country, short-term gratification. See what I'm saying? It's not just about sex. Hey guys, Vince Dow here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the Vince Dow Show. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And be sure to check out the Vince Dow Show live every weeknight here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is a great show. Many are saying this. So leave a like, check out our other clips, and be sure to check out the show. Yeah. God bless.